I'm a Microsoft MVP since 2010, first awarded as SharePoint MVP for 4 years, and now Office 365 MVP for the second year in a row. And in my humble opinion, those ones are the best apps in the store. Those are apps that you can use to build your own apps. Nintex Workflow, obviously for creating workflows, and Nintex Forms, obviously for creating forms. So let's see both apps in action. Okay, here's my employee leave portal. It has got a leave requests list, a shared leave calendar, and a tasks list for the leave approval tasks. As you can see, I'm logged in as Lady Gaga, and I want to apply for a leave. So I'm gonna click here, new item, and as you can see, I can get here the standard SharePoint out of the box form. So the first thing I want to do here is customizing this form using Nintex Forms. Close the dialog and go to the list, and from the ribbon here is Nintex Forms. I've already added the app, that's why I got this button in the ribbon. Click Nintex Forms, checking the license information, and here's my list. Pretty much like InfoPath. So let's say I want to get rid of those rows, and let's bring this up, and let's delete this. Here I can drag and drop controls, either general controls or SharePoint controls, or the list columns. Let's go to general, add an image, and configure image URL, save. Okay, we can also add list columns, like for example the attachments. I don't want it, so here's the undo button. I'm gonna click on it. What else I can show you here? Yeah, the rules. Let's say I want to change the formatting of this button based on let's say the leaf type. So I'm gonna click add a rule, give it a name, let's call it red, and it's a formatting rule type, and my condition is, let's say if the leaf type is sick leave, I want to turn the background of the save button into red. I don't know why would anybody do this, but it's just an example. So in the item properties, here's the leaf type. If it's equal to sick leave, and then what happens if the leaf type is equal to sick leave, I'm gonna change the background into red. Or I can also totally disable a button based on information in other fields, or hide a button based on the value of another field, or based on the date. It's very flexible. Okay, so I think my form looks good, but this is just only for desktops. I can also add more layouts. Let's add a layout for the iPad. You can do your formatting here for the iPad. You can add, let's add another layout for smartphone. Okay, so I'm happy with my form, so we'll go ahead and publish it. Publish. Form published successfully. I'll go back to my leave portal. Now when I click new item, I get the Nintex form for desktops, of course. Let's apply for leave. Let's say my annual leave to Dubai. Leave type, it's an annual leave. Start date, let's say from June 29th to July 11th. I love Dubai. And save. Now I've received an email. Let's see what happened. Go to Outlook. A workflow was triggered. I've created a Nintex workflow for leave requests. So it's saying, dear Lady Gaga, your annual leave request has been received and is being reviewed by, is being reviewed by your manager. And the manager is Nicki Minaj. So let's go to Nicki Minaj's window. She also received a task to review and to approve this vacation leave request or the leave request. Here's the task. So I'll click on the task, edit the item, and approve it. What happens now? Let's go to the other window, to the leave request portal, and an entry has been added to the shared leave calendar, the annual leave of Lady Gaga. As you might have noticed, the name of the leave request or the title has been modified by the workflow. So it's now the Lady Gaga dash annual leave, the requester name dash the leave type. And of course, the task has been completed. So let's see how I created the workflow. I'll go to the leave requests, again to the ribbon and Nintex workflow. Again, this is here because I've already added the app from the SharePoint store. And here's the workflow. Very simple workflow that I've created just by dragging and drop some actions and conditions. So the first thing in the workflow is updating the list item. Updating the list item to be the initiator display name dash the leave type. So whatever the title that the workflow receives from the initiator or the one who's requesting the leave, it's going to be amended by the workflow. Then I'm going to send an email to the initiator, so Lady Gaga in our example, and her boss, which is Nicki Minaj. And here's the subject: current item, the leave type, request by workflow context, initiator display. What does this mean? Let's delete this and show you how to do it. So in the subject of the email, I want to say the leave type request by the initiator. The initiator can be here in the initiator display name, and then I can build a body for my message. So here I'm saying, dear initiator display name, your leave type request has been received and is being, let's fix it, reviewed by your manager. Thanks. So here I'm updating the list item, then sending an email to notify the initiator that the workflow has been triggered and that the request is being reviewed by the manager. Then I'm gonna assign a task to the manager. If it's approved, I'm gonna send an email saying that the request has been approved, then create an entry in the shared leave calendar. If it's rejected, I'm gonna send an email to the requester or to the initiator saying that sorry, it has been rejected. Let me show you how we can create this. So I'm gonna click new, and here's the design canvas, and here are all the actions. We have here many actions. Actions for dealing with lists and libraries, actions for the logic and the flow, like if condition, looping. If we want to create state machine workflows, it can be done from here. Operations like adding time to date, building a dictionary, setting workflow status. Provisioning, which is very interesting if you want to provision a virtual machine to Microsoft Azure, for example. If you want to assign an Office 365 license to a user, create a user for Office 365. There are some social actions here, like retrieving a message from Yammer, or posting to Yammer, or posting to Facebook. There are some user interaction actions here, like assigning a task, send an email, and some utility ones like building a string, or replacing a substring in a string. And there's always, in the store, you can always add more actions. So let's go to social. Remember, we had only 4 actions, the Yammer one and the post to Facebook. Let's add Twitter actions. And click add. Yes. Nintex store is very dynamic, and many actions are being added every day. I'm gonna click close, and let's go back to social. And here we have Twitter search and Twitter tweet. Okay, let's go back to our workflow. And first thing is updating the list item. So I'll go to libraries and lists. I can look for it here, or I can use the search, update list item. Then I'm gonna send an email. This was a user interaction. Send an email. Then assign a task. We have 2 outcomes, either approved or rejected. If it's approved, I want to send an email. So send an email. Then create a list item in the calendar. Here we have create list item. And if it's rejected, I want to send an email. Send an email. Oh, let's do it one more time. Send that email. So this is the workflow. We just need to configure it. So update list item. We want to update our current item. The list item properties is the title. I want to change the title. Add it, and the title should be, let's add references. The title should be the initiator name. So from the workflow context, I'm gonna choose initiator display name dash the leaf type. It's in the item properties, leaf type. Okay, the exclamation mark here is gone. Let's configure send an email. So I want to send an email to the initiator, right? So I want to do a lookup for the current item and choose the created by, or we have other option, which is choosing the initiator from the workflow context. Initiator, and choose the email address of the initiator. And the CC, let's say, we can automatically obtain the manager of the initiator, but for simplicity, I'm just gonna choose Nicki Minaj, which is the manager. Let's build a subject. Let's say leaf type, it's in the item properties. The leaf type, request by the initiator, which is in the workflow context. And I can build the body and so on and so forth. I'm gonna click save. Assign a task works almost the same. It has other options, including lazy approval. Lazy approval is if I'm a manager, I don't want to go to to SharePoint every time I receive a request and edit the task form and I click approve. Lazy approval means that you can just reply to email by OK or yes or no for approval or rejection. And it's very straightforward. You just add the actions from here and configure them by double clicking. You can also copy. If you configure something and you're happy with it, you can copy and paste. It's very straightforward.